Welcome to Capitol Report. I'm State Senator Wayne Schmidt for the 37th Senate District for Northern Michigan and the Eastern Upper Peninsula, and glad to have you with us today. I'm joined by my special guest, Kent Wood. He's the Director of Government Relations for the Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce and the Northern Chamber Alliance, and glad to have you here and glad to have you in Lansing today.
Thank you so much, Senator. I'm really glad to be here today.
Great to have you down in Lansing. You testified in front of the Commerce Committee, and I chair that committee, and was very excited to have you down, along with Carlin Smith, president of the Petoskey Regional Chamber of Commerce. And you talked about what's going on not only up north, but your work with the other chambers that testified in front of the Commerce Committee. We had the Lansing Area Chamber of Commerce, we had the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce, and the Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce down. Can you tell us a little bit, how's your working relationship with those other groups?
I would love to, and first of all, thank you for that opportunity. We had an absolute blast in front of the committee, not only telling them a little bit about what we were looking to do this year as the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, but also, I think for a lot of them, just letting them know who we are and what we're about. I think, most of your committee members, being from downstate, probably had never even heard of the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance. So it was a great opportunity for Carlin and I to just do that, have that reach out and that education for them.
You talk about the Chamber Alliance. We know Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce. We know the Petoskey Regional Chamber of Commerce. Who makes up the Northern Chamber Alliance?
Yeah, it's a great question. Certainly, Carlin and I, Traverse and Petoskey are two of them. There's actually 8 of us total. The Benzie County Chamber of Commerce, Cadillac, Traverse City, Charlevoix Area Chamber, Gaylord Area Chamber, Alpena Area Chamber, Petoskey Regional Chamber, and then also the Lake Superior Community Partnership, which is the economic development organization for Marquette County.
Would you have, and those are the main ones, but we have a number of smaller communities in Northern Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. Do you have other members that make up the Northern Chamber Alliance?
We do, actually, yes, and we're looking to expand those every single year. Currently, we have the Elk Rapids Chamber, East Jordan Chamber, Boyne area, and the Harbor Springs Chamber that are also, we call them associate partners, but they're very much part of our Chamber Alliance, and we sort of help give them updates as to what's going on, but then they also participate in our advocacy as well.
Been to a couple of the chamber dinners, most recently the Boyne Area Chamber, the East Jordan Chamber, and then did the updates for State of the Community addresses in Charlevoix and Petoskey. The Sioux Chamber of Commerce, which I'd like to hope we're going to get as a member, either an associate or as a full member here. I know you're working with them.
We do too, yeah.
Their chamber dinner's coming up soon, and those kind of actions where you can meet and talk with the business owners, the people that are creating jobs, and valuable experience. Well, in front of committee today, though, we heard testimony from the four major chamber groups. What do you think was the common thread that all 4 of you agreed on? What would it be? Job training, those type of areas? What stood out in your mind?
To me, there were a number of common threads that I think the committee saw today that we were all talking about. I think first and foremost was the labor issues and workforce training that we are all, it doesn't matter what corner of the state you're from, if you're a business owner, you're experiencing those issues, you're experiencing the problems of being able to find the right kind of people. And in a lot of instances, this is situations where businesses are looking to expand and they just can't find the right people to be able to do that. So that's what the committee heard from all of us, was we need more help with those, either, be it training opportunities, or in some instances, and especially up in Northern Michigan, with thinking of agriculture,
right,
and our hospitality industry, even just finding bodies to be able to do that. So you look at now issues like immigration and affordable housing to be able to find the number of people that you need to get the job done.
When we were talking about that, what areas, and I don't want to say disagreement because that wasn't the case. I heard the themes, and the committee members heard the themes that all 4 talked about. But what did you and Carlin highlight that might separate us? What are some of the issues that might separate us from your downstate counterparts?
Yeah, well, and I will say that all, I would say most area and especially regional chambers right now, like the big four of us were in front of committee. We are all tackling different areas of education and education reform. One thing that was, I would say, different that we're advocating for in Northern Michigan would be that K-12 per pupil funding equity gap that currently exists right now in the state. And again, as I told the committee members, we are sort of a non-traditional, that's a non-traditional issue for a chamber. And so, what the heck are you doing getting involved as a business organization with education funding? For us, that's all part of our business infrastructure in Northern Michigan, making sure that we've got quality school systems. And when we see a gap of, now it's $850 right now, but even as recently as 3-4 years ago, it was about $1,100,000 or $1,200,000. When you see that kind of disparity coming in per pupil for school, that we're bringing in that much less per pupil in Northern Michigan, for most schools in Northern Michigan, than some of our counterparts are around the state, that's becomes then a huge issue for us, not only in terms of education, but for us in terms of our business infrastructure and making Northern Michigan a very desirable place to live, work, and play.
Right, to attract families.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that. I know one of the other themes that you hit on was making sure that our hospitals were fully funded in Northern Michigan. Talking about that.
Yeah, again, that's another issue where we as a chamber alliance, that's sort of a non-traditional issue for chambers, but it's making sure that our hospitals have good funding, and especially the issue we're referring to in Northern Michigan is there has been historically funding in the budget for small and rural hospitals, right. a pool of money for that helps to provide critical services in hospital service areas that maybe run as a deficit. So if you got a smaller hospital providing these services, they probably don't make money from it, but that small and rural hospital pool will help to make up some of that difference. That's absolutely critical, because again, when you're thinking in terms of families and people looking to find jobs or to stay in Northern Michigan.
Retire, for example.
Yeah, or even retire too. They want to be sure that they've got access to at least some basic healthcare services. And if we can't provide some of those services, or if they have to travel 3 or 4 hours to receive those services, Northern Michigan then just becomes not a desirable place for them to start a family, raise a family, or retire.
And we'll be back in a few minutes with our special guest, Kent Wood, Director of Government Relations for the Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce and the Northern Chamber Alliance.
Opening presents can be fun, but are more toys really what your child needs? Instead, you can give a gift for your child's or grandchild's future. Start a college savings account with the Michigan Education Savings Program. It's something they'll use and appreciate for a lifetime. The Michigan Education Savings Program. Start your child's future today. Learn how at misaves.com.
Welcome back. We're talking with Kent Wood, Director of Government Relations for the Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce and the Northern Chamber Alliance. We've talked about some of the things during your testimony, along with President of the Petoskey Regional Chamber, Carlin Smith, about the things going on with the Chamber Alliance, your respective chambers, and your cooperation with the Detroit Regional Chamber, the Lansing Chamber, and also the Grand Rapids Chamber. We've talked about successes, common themes of where we need to improve. What are some of the things specifically for Northern Michigan and the Eastern Upper Peninsula? What are some of the barriers or things that we need to overcome to make sure that we're attracting young people who want to start families, and also make sure that retirees, to make sure that the area as a whole is being well taken care of?
Yeah, that's a great question, Senator, and I appreciate that, because we do work very well with our colleagues at the Detroit Chamber, Grand Rapids Chamber, Lansing Chamber, the State Chamber, other business organizations. There are a lot of common threads that we have that we work very closely on. But there are also some issues and some barriers to success, as we and you have called them, that are a little bit more specific to Northern Michigan. And the first thing that always jumps out to me whenever I think about this question is the phrase "one size does not fit all." And I think we feel sometimes in northern Michigan, whether you're a business owner or not, that some of the policies and the laws that are created in Lansing tend to have that one size and okay, we're going to apply this to the entire state. And in reality, it just doesn't work out that way. And
what would be an example of that? Something that we've seen successful in northern Michigan, where we were able to replicate, but maybe now might be slightly, I don't want to say in danger, but you know, there's some refinements going on. It might not be the best for us.
The one thing that jumps to mind for me, because it happened so recently, was in last legislature when we were looking at TIF, tax increment financing laws, and DDA, downtown development authority laws. You know, there was this push to, these laws haven't been looked at in a long time. We think they're, you know, what's being done in some areas of the state is not lining up with what the original intent was. And our premise was, that's a great idea. If you know, it's good to be looking at these laws every now and then. But some of the reforms that were being proposed, you know, again, seemed to be making fixes to instances that had happened maybe down in the Metro Detroit area or other more urban areas of the state. And so the fixes that were being proposed were not fixes that would have been very conducive to northern Michigan. And in fact, you know, when you think of most of the smaller rural communities that we have in northern Michigan, their downtowns have nothing in common with some of the more urban downtowns downstate. And so that was one instance right there. And we look at also some other economic development grants or programs that, you know, maybe, you know, through the MEDC that, you know, sometimes are a little bit more focused on university areas or maybe have a population component or population, you know, contingent to them that really either leaves northern Michigan out or makes it incredibly hard for us to compete for those economic development dollars.
When we were talking about that and the Chamber Alliance, when those issues came up, and I was working with Representative Eileen Coe-Walsh, she was heading that up, and I, again, served on the Commerce Committee in the House. Great person to work with, and that was our concerns. And that was one of the nice things about the Chamber Alliance. I heard from the Boyne City city manager, I heard from the Traverse City people, I heard from Petoskey, I heard from people throughout northern Michigan and through the Chamber Alliance itself, which gave me great feedback. And I could go back to my colleagues downstate and say, you know, we want to reform, we want to work with you, here's our concerns, here's our ideas. And to have that one spot and have northern Michigan speaking a voice, I think makes a big difference for me. And I know talking to my other northern Michigan colleagues, they appreciate that too. What are you going to be working on? You know, it's funny, I'm just thinking about working on stuff. There was a milestone for the Traverse City Area Chamber of Commerce. If you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there was, there is, I should say, because 2015 just happens to be the 100th anniversary of the Traverse City Area Chamber. And so we celebrated a number of weeks ago. We have typically have our annual celebration in January, in later January. So that was certainly kind of the big kickoff to the 100th year anniversary. But yeah, 1915 was when was when the chamber was founded. So it's a real special year for us, obviously.
It is, and as northern Michigan's economy starts to come back, northern Michigan and the Eastern Upper Peninsula, to celebrate 100 years is certainly a tremendous success. What are we looking at in the next couple of months? Are there any priorities right now that you're going to be coming back to Lansing or updating legislators on with the Chamber Alliance?
Yeah, energy continues to be a very big one. And again, our colleagues in Detroit and Grand Rapids throughout the state would say the exact same thing. But energy, and certainly in terms of reliability and affordability, is a huge issue for business owners, and as they look to the future and think, what am I going to do with my business? That energy uncertainty is playing a real big factor in their general uncertainty. So we certainly want to see a comprehensive state energy policy come up this year, and we are ready to support such a comprehensive energy plan. But again, with an eye on maybe, you know, that one size doesn't fit all, and we want to really make sure that Northern Michigan is protected as much as it can be in terms of affordability and reliability of energy. Because again, when you look at the electric grid and where our power comes from, Northern Michigan, we're at the end of that extension cord, and we get it. We're a little bit more further removed, and it's a little bit more expensive to get it to us. But those are real issues for us.
Any of the other programs? How's the Young Professionals program going through the Traverse City Chamber?
Yeah, the TCYPs is just doing fantastic. They last year really was highlighted by a young professional roundtable that they had with Governor Snyder up in Traverse City in April. We'll be looking to follow up on that meeting this spring. The governor really charged the young professional group that, let's not let this day just be the end of it. Continue this conversation with me, follow up with me. And so we intend to do that this spring. They've got a number of great programs that they are working on. It's not just a social organization that gets together and goes out on the town every now and then. They've got a philanthropy part of it. They've got a regular newsletter. They are actively working at attracting and bringing and reaching out to new talent that is in the area to help get them acclimated.
With that, is that expanding? I'm just thinking on it. 100th year anniversary. Certainly don't want to rest on your laurels. Getting younger people involved, that next generation. How's chamber membership looking? Things moving in the right direction, continuing that way?
Things are. We are very positive looking into 2015. We really, really see that Northern Michigan, and especially the Traverse City area, is primed and ready to explode. And again, it just seems like it's just a little bit of uncertainty out there, maybe about energy costs, energy reliability, healthcare costs, just that little bit of uncertainty that's sort of muddying the water. But other than that, we are ready to go, and I think this is a really exciting time for Northern Michigan. A lot of businesses that are doing well, coming out of that recession, looking to expand right now. Again, maybe not, maybe having some struggles finding the labor or their workforce, but that's a better issue to have, I would argue, than,
Yes.
Things are going awful, we need to get rid of people. So, really, when you look at the big picture, we've got good problems to have right now. We're still trying to solve those problems, but they're much better problems to have than the last 5 to 10 years.
Well, Ken, thank you very much for taking time, and look forward to continuing to working with you and having you and your colleagues from the Northern Michigan and Eastern Upper Peninsula down in front of Commerce Committee and meeting with us here in Lansing. And of course, I'll meet with all of you back home up in Traverse City and throughout Northern Michigan.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Capitol Report. I'm State Senator Wayne Schmidt. Look forward to talking with you again soon.